Well, hey guys, so I'm in the room, some changes. That's kind of new. Check yesterday's video. Be kind of watching as we're beginning to transform this space. I could look over there and I see some stuff, but you won't see it till it's completely done. But just excited about what God is doing here. But wanted to come on and just share with you a little bit out of Genesis chapter 5, verse 22, as we're reading through this 42-day plan, really about looking at creation. In the last several weeks of sermons here in the month of February, we've really been talking about that creation is a call to worship, right? That when God created everything, Genesis 1:1, that He created everything. He said, Elohim, the mighty God, sovereign God, the Creator God. He said, I created everything out of nothing. There's no one greater to worship than I am. And so we've been talking about that, and in our reading today, something really struck me in Genesis chapter 5, verse 22. Enoch it talks about, if you know your Bible at all, you probably recognize that name because there's only two characters like him. And it says this, verse 22. Enoch lived 65 years and became the father of Methuselah. If you know Methuselah, the oldest man ever recorded to live. Enoch walked with God after the birth of Methuselah for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more because God took him. I want to point out a couple things there when we think about the story of Enoch. Young guy at that age, at 65, who had his first child, or first recorded child. And then, we see that he dies or leaves early. All the other ones, we're talking 800, 900 years of life. And yet Enoch was different. Enoch was different because he has this one moment. We don't see it before, and we won't see it again until Noah. The same word is actually used, walked with God, for Noah, a righteous man. And it says that Enoch walked with God in such a way that God took him, that God decided it was time for Enoch to come be with him. Now, I was reading that. I was reading that as a skeptic, because thinking through, well, how did they know? We know the chariots of fire come down, right? We know that story. Someone watched it. And the verbiage here is that they couldn't find them. And what hit me at that moment is that these individuals that were around him define him as a man that walked with God, not his father, not his grandfather, not his great-grandfather. In fact, watch yesterday's devotional. This will make more sense to you, right? Not any of those guys, but that he walked with God and that God took him. They looked around, they tried to find him, and they realized, we can't find him. And if we can't find him, the only answer is that God took him, because he was so close to God. And it made me wonder about my own life. What would happen if I disappeared, right? What would happen if something, where all of a sudden James is just gone? Would people go to me, hey, you know what? Probably the logical solution, the logical answer to all this is that James was taken by God, because James walked with God. Or would they, try to find any other solution? Aliens abducted him, any other solution? It's important to me, as I was reading this, to recognize something. My life needs to be a life like a Noah, like an Enoch, like a Elijah. It needs to be an individual that is so closely following God that the only solution to any question is God must have. God must have taken him. God must have moved him. God must have done this. Not that any other solution, any other scenario would play out, but everyone would go, man, this guy walked so closely with God that God must have done this. That is what you and I should be striving for as Christians, as believers, that God and that we have such a close relationship with God, such a close walk with God, that at the end of the day, it must have been God and no one else.